What's up, college football fans? Welcome to another episode of Bleav in the Big Ten. I am Brandon Brown, joined as always by Grant Perry, and we are inching closer and closer to the start of the college football season. As we record this, Grant, we're less than 2 days, right around 48 hours away from the first kickoff of the season, which is incredible. I mean, we talked about how excited we're getting, and I literally can't wait. Like, I just want to wake up and there to be football, and it's very, very close. And today, we're going to jump into some end-of-season predictions for the Big Ten. We have 7 topics, Grant. We had a little bit of homework to do last night. Just put this list together. We'll talk about it, and we'll get out of here within 30 minutes. We are going to talk about our surprise team, our disappointing team, our breakout player, offensive and defensive players of the year, coach of the year, and Big Ten champs. Are you prepared to make these kind of predictions right now on August 21st, Mr. Perry?
I am. I'm prepared. We'll see how it adds up here. Come end of the season. But I mean, no better time than to throw your predictions out than 48 hours before kickoff.
That's right. And we didn't talk about our lists with each other. I think we'll have some similarities. It's probably hard not to when you kind of go through this a little bit, but who knows? There's a couple people on here that I think we might have the same, and I think there's going to be some differences as well. So if you would, Grant, this has kind of become your thing. Whenever we do lists, you kick it off. So that's what we're going to do. You're going to start us off with your surprise team of the year in the Big Ten. Who do you got?
All right, so surprise team of the year, I went with the Hawkeyes of Iowa. I took Iowa for a couple reasons. One, they're always consistent. I mean, and whether that's consistently average or consistently, great on defense, like they're consistent in what they do. And I like that. And when you look at their transfers and the portal, no one went out, only came in. So they're kind of telling me, all right, there's something brewing there. There's some good team chemistry. Guys want to stay in the building. They bring in some good transfers. Obviously, Mark Gronowski, the quarterback who's poised to start for them, probably their biggest one and most important one. But also, when you look at their schedule, I mean, they have Oregon, but they have that at home. They have Penn State, but they have that at home. And other than that, those are their 2 hardest games. And if they can, win one of those games by, grace of God, by a miracle, or just playing hard-nosed Iowa football, give me Iowa to be a surprise team this year.
I like that. And Iowa usually is good for a win they don't have business getting. They almost always grab one of those. Unfortunately, they sometimes drop one that they probably shouldn't drop too, because the offense just doesn't show up. So that'll be interesting. I like the pick. Grant, call me a homer. I'm going with Michigan. I mean, coming off of an 8-5 season, if they win 10, 11 games, which I think they're capable of doing, I think that's a surprise. Expectations are high. They're a year and a half. They're 1 season removed from winning a national title, but a lot of turnover since then. Freshman quarterback, new OC, a lot of new faces coming in from the transfer portal that are expected to make some big plays. They lost some very important talent off of last year's team to the NFL. So there's a lot of new guys stepping into some big roles, but I like their schedule. I like the potential and the upside for the offense with Bryce Underwood and Chip Lindsey calling plays. Wink Martindale settling in, Sharon Moore settling in. I'm going with the Wolverines. I think I just saw the other day, was it Joel Klatt? I know he's he's a little bit of a Michigan slap, and I like that about him, but he had them picked to go to the playoff, and I think that's realistic. Now, if they drop a game or two that they shouldn't drop, that's not going to happen. But I think the Wolverines can win double-digit games and maybe even touch 11 wins and really be one of the better teams in the Big Ten this year. Number 2, Grant, disappointing team.
Yeah, disappointing team. Okay, and we talked a little bit about this one. I'm going to stick with what we talked about. We were talking over win totals and all that. I'm going to take it up to Wisconsin, man. I'm going to say Wisconsin. Everyone's looking for Luke Fickell, and to see something come out of that, that program. He's kind of stepped away from what they've done in traditional run game, hard nose, win at the line of scrimmage, and he's kind of spread it out. And you hear him in the interviews this year, and it sounds like they're trying to reel it back in and get back to what Wisconsin does best, and in hard nosed football. But I mean, when you take a look at this schedule, like we talked about, they'll probably go 2-0 to start, but then they're at Bama, they got Maryland, and they got Michigan, and then Iowa, Ohio State, and Oregon. That's going to be a tough stretch right there. And then they finished with some really good teams as well. I mean, Indiana, Illinois, Washington. I mean, they got a pretty tough schedule. One of the tougher ones, not only in the Big Ten, but I'd say in college football altogether. So give me Wisconsin to be the disappointing team of the year. I say they win 5 games at most, maybe 6 if they're lucky.
You sold me on it last episode. I mean, I hadn't taken a deep dive into what Wisconsin's doing. Luke Fickell was hired to kind of take the program to the next level, and it's kind of went the other way. Like you said, changed philosophy, went away from what Wisconsin is all about, and it just hasn't worked very well. And you took the under, I Bleav. You said you put in a little futures bet presented by FanDuel. 5.5 wins is the mark for the Badgers, and you took the under. And I was like, oh, come on, man. And I went to the schedule. I'm like, you're right. They're not getting to 6 wins. I don't see it. So they are my disappointing team as well. I don't hate Wisconsin. I don't know if we're piling on here, but just like you said, the facts are the facts. Maybe one of the tougher schedules in the country, and things just haven't gone according to plan for Luke Fickell. Give me the Badgers for the disappointing team of the season, and that's because of what you sold me on. I hadn't really looked until you said something. I'm like, wow, man, that is a brutal stretch of games for them, and I just don't think they have the firepower. So give me the Badgers for my disappointing team as well. Grant, we might have another one in common here. Breakout player of the year, our third category. Who do you have for the new kid on the block that's going to be a household name in the Big Ten by the end of the season?
Breakout player of the year. I'm gonna say that we don't have the same player.
Okay, all right.
And I'm going to go for one. This position group for this team is as important to any position group, I think, this year in the Big Ten. I think, with the reason why they haven't gotten over the hurdle that they face themselves with each year. I'm going to go with Penn State, Devontae Ross, receiver.
Wow.
Transfer from Troy, explosive playmaker, 1,000 yards, 11 touchdowns last year. And there's a position group that needs help. It's the receiver room at Penn State. The running back room solid. Quarterback, Drew Aller, as best as they get. He's obviously the top of the totem pole. So if they can have some receivers, they're also getting Trevor Pena from Syracuse, who I think I was kind of juggling back and forth. Do I go Trevor or do I go Devontae? And I just Devontae stuck out to me. 11 touchdowns, and that's, like I said, that's a position group that I think has to, and if they want to get to that natty title, beat Ohio State at the end of the year, they're going to have to get some production from the receiver room, and I think Devontae Ross could lead that charge.
I like that pick. You did go off the board a little bit there. I didn't see that one coming. I went with Damon Williams, our guy out at Washington, stepping into a starter's role, elusive dual threat kind of guy. He's going to make a bunch of plays with his feet as well as with his arm. Jed Fish's offense. I just, anytime a team travels out to Seattle, it's tough. Like, I just think there's a lot set up for Damon Williams to have a pretty exciting, kind of highlight-filled season. He's played some ball, and some people know about him, but he's going to be the guy this year if he can stay healthy. He's not the biggest dude in the world either. That is a concern for him, the way he runs around and gets after it with his legs. But he's got all the skills to make big plays, to put up some numbers in that offense. And he's the guy. He's the guy this year. So I'm going with Damon Williams. He's a guy you and I have both talked about before. We both like his skill set, and I think he's going to make. A lot of plays. You sold me on several things here, Grant. You sold me on Wisconsin. You sold me on Damon Williams. Are you going to sell me on offensive player of the year? Who do you have here?
That's a great question. And I'm going to go with. I'm not going to travel too far for my last pick. We're actually going to keep it in house. I'm going to go Nicholas Singleton. I'm going to say that the passing attack for Penn State picks up, which then allows Nick Singleton just to do what he wants to do. I mean, obviously he's going to share carries with Katron Allen, but I think Katron and Nicholas are both facing their last year here, so I think they're going to be going balls to the wall. Nicholas Singleton just saw what Ashton Genty made in the draft. He's the second highest paid running back right now, or top 3 at least. I think I'm going to say Nicholas Singleton. I think he puts the team on his back this year. I think he just is undeniable. Give me Nicholas Singleton. And that's all kind of predicated on if Penn State's doing well. So if they're not doing well, I don't think that's going to stay true and come to light. But give me Nicholas Singleton with a Penn State team that we're expecting this year.
Well, I don't know if you sold me on it, but Nicholas Singleton is also my pick. I think he could score 15 to 20 touchdowns this year, which is going to put him in a pretty elite group in terms of statistics. I'm with you. He's going to split some carries with Katron Allen. There could be some touchdown vulture situation. He's the more explosive back. Katron a little bit more of the power back. So you get down inside the 5. Maybe he loses out on some TDs there. But I think their offense is going to be really good for the same reasons you mentioned, adding some speed on the outside. Drew Aller, get it to click. He's got to find it. And if it all comes together, it's all going to work. I mean, it's all going to work. And I think they're poised to do that. Easy pick here, layup pick here could have been Jeremiah Smith. I'm not sold on the quarterback situation yet. I think, dude, you could probably go out there and play QB and he could get 1,000 yards. He did that last year as a true freshman. No offense, Grant. But I think Nicholas Singleton just has a better all-around situation. He's going to be the guy Penn State should roll in a lot of their games this year, and he's going to be a big reason for it. My player of the year on offense is also Nicholas Singleton from Penn State. Defensive player of the year. I saw the popular picks here, and I tried to go away from it, but I personally couldn't. Grant, who did you come up with for defensive player of the year?
Yeah, it's same here. I tried to do some research. I looked up all the the guys eligible that were on the teams last year that are still there, and it came down to a couple guys. Honestly, it came down to 2 guys for me, which were probably the most popular picks. Both defensive backs. I ended up swaying with Caleb Downs for Ohio State, and just because it was kind of between him and Coy Perch for Minnesota. But when you look at the stats, I think Caleb had double the tackles, and he did play in a few more games, but double the tackles. I think he had a few less interceptions, but just the importance of what he brings to that team, and he really is the identity. He's the signal caller. He's the quarterback of the defense. And when you hear people talk about him, it's the highest regard. He's a leader. Sounds like both on and off the field. And well on the field, because he can ball out and he can change a game. And so I'm going to go Caleb Downs. Probably an easy pick there, but it's hard. It's hard to look elsewhere when you got Caleb Downs staring you in the face.
The goal isn't always to be. The goal is not to be different. It's to be right. And I think you're right. I picked him as well. And I also looked at Coy Perich, and he's gonna play offense. He's gonna he's talking about I'm this year's Travis Hunter. I'm gonna pump the brakes a little bit on that. Maybe here at Minnesota. I don't know. We'll see. He's a talented kid. Like you said, he's a playmaker. He's always around the ball. He's gonna get his hands on the ball on offense this year. That doesn't necessarily speak to being defensive player of the year. But every single thing you said is exactly why I went with Caleb Downs as well. In the box, in coverage, run support, side to side. He's as big and physical and strong as a linebacker. He can run like the best DBs. He can cover. He can play deep ball. He's being regarded as a top 5 pick, which is pretty rare at safety. And there's a reason for it. Like you said, on the field, off the field, like you can't go wrong with this kid. He's special. And yeah, I think an easy pick. Could have had an Ohio State sweep there. Jeremiah Smith, probably the best offensive player. It's just about who's going to get him the ball. He's a freak as well. But Nicholas Singleton and Caleb Downs for both of us, offensive player and defensive player of the year. How about that? Let's see where we go. Coach of the year, Grant. There's some good coaches in this conference. We did our coach list last episode. We both had Dan Lanning at the top of who we would hire for our respective universities. I don't know if that qualifies him to be coach of the year, but I'm curious to see where you went. Who's your coach of the year in the Big Ten this year, Grant?
Yeah. So, with coach of the year, and this is all, obviously this is, you paint a narrative in your head, right? You're like, okay, if this happens and this happens, it's kind of like a domino, right? If everything goes right, then this last domino should fall. And then that's kind of the case here with this coach of the year pick. I'm going to go with James Franklin. Kind of riding out on the thought that Penn State, if they want to do it this year, it's their year. I guarantee you he's feeling the heat. I guarantee you Drew Aller's feeling the heat, along with all those other playmakers in that building. And if they do it, if they go ahead and beat Ohio State there, in the fourth to last week, and they're undefeated, they do have Oregon early on. So if they get through Oregon and Ohio State, those are really their biggest tests. No Michigan this year. They got a home game versus USC. But if they knock down all the dominoes and they're rolling around to championship weekend undefeated, I think James Franklin's going to be atop of that list for coach of the year, especially just with, kind of, and not the sense that he had the same, criticism or display of not hate, but, people are mad that Harbaugh did going in, after that year where he kind of pushed in all the chips. It kind of feels a little bit like that to me, where he's like, I know what I have in this building. I've been saying the same thing over and over again, and it's almost, it's like his test. This is the test this year. So give me James Franklin to pass the test this year, win Coach of the Year, and we're going to see Penn State pushing along late into the season.
Grant, we've been on the same wavelength. I also have James Franklin, and I can't, not that I can't believe I'm saying that, because Penn State's loaded. You just listed all the reasons. They've got all the opportunity in the world to make statements, to win big games. Drew Aller at quarterback, the most established player at the position, the most important position in the conference. A two-headed monster at running back in Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton, the added speed and explosiveness on the outside. Their defense is always stout. I mean, they don't have a weakness really on their team. Offensive line, I don't know a ton. I have to take a little deeper dive there, but everything is in place for them to be very, very successful. It's not the first time that's been the case, and James Franklin has a tendency to do James Franklin things, and I've referred to him as a bit of a dunce cap in the past, and I actually like him personally. I mean, from covering Big Ten media days and to hearing him talk and answer questions to the media, I like him as a dude, and I think he's done some really good things at Penn State. But he's like his quarterback. Like, everything's there, but for some reason it just doesn't come all the way together for him every year, it seems like. I think this is the year. I'm with you. I think they're just too good. They have less question marks than everybody else. And I think if he wants to, swing the narrative a little bit, put people at ease, like you said, people, I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't call it hate either. I think that is probably a little bit too strong of a word, but there is this kind of black cloud that follows him around a little bit, like, yeah, Franklin's got it again, but he just, give him time, he'll get in his own way, and that'll be that. It'll be a wrap for Penn State. I don't think it happens this year. I'm with you. I like Penn State at all levels. Give me James Franklin as Coach of the Year, even though I have used him as the butt of a joke many, many times. I like the guy, and I think he's got everything in place this year to be very successful at the highest level. James Franklin, Coach of the Year. And that means for Big Ten champs, do we just keep it rolling, or do we shift to one of these other teams? We talked about the tier, Grant, a couple episodes ago, I think, on, again, FanDuel's odds to win the Big Ten. There was a tier. It was Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State. And then there was a pretty big jump to teams like Michigan. I'm trying to think who was even else in that next. I think there was another pretty big jump below Michigan, if I remember correctly. But that top tier seems like is going to be where the champ comes from: Ohio State, Penn State, or Oregon. So is one of your picks from that trio? And if not, who's your dark horse that you're riding with for our final category here on our season end predictions? Who do you have as the Big Ten champ, Mr. Perry?
Well, I think it'd be kind of silly for me to give like 6 Penn State guys as breakout player, offensive player, Coach of the Year, and then say, Illinois is going to win it. Like, it just wouldn't add up. I'm going to stick with my rhythm here, and I'm going to say Penn State. They get over the hurdle. They beat Ohio State in that fourth to last week. Drew Aller's clicking. The receivers are making those plays on third downs in the big games when they need it. Run game is elite. Katron and Nicholas, you don't know who's touching it. You don't know who's getting it. And James Franklin ends up, winning Coach of the Year. They win the Big Ten, and they're sitting with that high ranking spot in the college football playoffs. So, yep, give me Penn State to win the Big Ten this year, which is not much of a stretch as a guess, but when they're going against Ohio State's always going to be up there for favorites. So give me Penn State, and according to FanDuel, the odds right now, Penn State's at plus 230. Ohio State's in first at plus 190, with Oregon at plus 480. And that jump for Michigan jumps to plus 850. Give me Penn State sitting at number 2 right now, according to FanDuel. So if you want to make a little money, go ahead and put it on Penn State. That's what I'm going to do.
I think those odds have shifted a little bit. I think Michigan was plus 1,000 before, if I'm not mistaken. So that's interesting a little bit there. What a boring list, dude. I have Penn State too. We look, there are some layups in here. I think the Caleb Downs pick is a layup. Offense, there's probably 2 or 3 guys you could have looked at. We both went with Nicholas Singleton. The disappointing team, we both went with Wisconsin because of what we talked about before, I think. So we've been on a little bit of a wavelength there and have discussed it at least. And yeah, like you said, I mean, you're not exactly going out on a huge limb here by picking Penn State. They are the number 2 pick according to FanDuel, just a few notches below Ohio State, and that all depends on Julian Sain and how he looks at quarterback. He's got a ton of weapons to throw to in Columbus, and they're, like you said, they're always going to be up there. But I took the Nittany Lions as well for all those same reasons. You had a Penn State player for breakout player as well, wide receiver Devontae Ross. I went with Damon Williams. We only had 2 differences on this list. Our surprise team, I went with Michigan. You went with Iowa. And our breakout player of the year, you went with the wide receiver Ross from Penn State, and I went with Damon Williams, the quarterback out at Washington. Other than that, our list was in lockstep, and I'm with you on the final one, the big one. Penn State, hoisting the trophy, James Franklin, a smile as big as Happy Valley, that he could finally get there and get it done. But again, they're just a complete team, and if they can, Grant, I don't know if I've seen you've referenced it a couple of times. They're tough games. Where are they? Are they on the road or are they at home? I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
No, you're good for Penn State.
Yeah, for Penn State.
Yep. So they go the first 3 games are at home. It's it's Nevada, FIU, Villanova. So 3-0. They go bye. Then they have Oregon at home, UCLA on the road, Northwestern at home, Iowa on the road. Then they have another bye. And then they have Ohio State on the road, Indiana at home, Michigan State on the road, Nebraska home, Rutgers on the road.
So it's Oregon at home, it's Ohio State on the road. That's their 2-game season. Yeah. I love.
It's interesting. They have a bye versus the week prior versus Oregon and Ohio State. So we'll see. Sometimes that bye is really good for a team, and you kind of need to let the guys refresh a little bit. Or sometimes you sit around too long and you're not practicing on your normal schedule. You're a little bit off. So interesting to see that. See what
it is interesting how byes land on your schedule. Do you need a week to get healthy, to get those little dings and bruises to heal up a little bit, or are you rolling? You're like, God, I wish we were playing again this weekend. We do not need to take time off. You see it every year with every different teams at different times. I love looking at that with you can do that with any team, but especially the good teams, the ones that are expected to compete, maybe make the playoff, maybe win their conference. How big is their season? And for Penn State, it's a 2-game season. It's the home game against Oregon. It's the road game against Ohio State. And no disrespect to the other teams, but Penn State should win those other games. I mean, they just should. They're going to be favored in all 10 of those other games. I don't know where they'll be at. I don't know if those lines are out yet for the Oregon game, for the Ohio State game. Probably not. It's a little early, obviously. But those are the only 2 games on their entire schedule where they might be a dog. I mean, that's it. They're going to be favored in all 10 of those other games. Covering Michigan for as long as I did, I always looked at that. Beginning of the season, it's a 3-game season. It's a 4-game season. It's a 1-game season. Whatever it might be, you're expected to win certain games. And then there's other ones where you're like, this one you got to show up for. And for Penn State, Oregon Oregon at home, and that's week 4. Did you say early?
Week 5. Yep, coming off a bye, they got Oregon at home.
And then later on in the year, going to Columbus, with both teams will be lathered, polished, ready. They're going to know who they are. Julian Sain will either be dealing or be struggling by that point. And Drew Aller, has it clicked as a senior and that late stretch of the season? Man, just talking about those 2 games, dude. Penn State, Oregon in Happy Valley. Dude, please be a whiteout. Please be a whiteout.
I mean, come on. Let's organize the whiteout to where it really affects the game. That is such a weapon. And when you see it at 12 noon versus, the University of whoever, it's like, come on, what are we doing? Let's apply some pressure here. And
is there a kick time for that one yet?
I don't have. This is just the general Big Ten layout. I'm just looking at the layout. I don't have a kick time. But another thing to keep in mind, I think on their schedule as well, say that they're having that year that we're talking about, right? And they beat Oregon at home. They go through that, a couple next 3 games, and then they have that bye, and then they beat Ohio State on the road. Don't fall asleep on Fernando Mendoza and the Indiana Hoosiers the following week. Now it's at Penn State, but now if you're Penn State and you're riding high, right, and you're looking, hey, we got a few games left, no big opponents. Kurt Signetti and them boys could come in there and cause some trouble. So keep that in mind. We'll come back to this if it plays, in a factor down the road, that Indiana game after Ohio State. But I see Signetti lurking, man. I see him. He's licking his chops. He's like, yeah, they're gonna look right past us. They're looking at Ohio State on the road, and we're gonna come in there and try to do something. So keep that in mind.
That letdown, that high, energy, adrenaline, all your focus, all your attention, and then if you get over the hump, it's different if you win or if you lose that game too. That's such an interesting dynamic. Very interested to see what Indiana looks like in year 2 under Signetti. They're not going to surprise anybody this year, so that'll be interesting to see in its own right. Dude, great stuff. 7 big topic predictions for end of season Big Ten play. Me and Grant were pretty much on the same page. Sorry, everybody, if you wanted a little more excitement, but that's how we see it. We call it like we see it. That's what we have. Nice, easy, efficient episode this week. And Grant, the next time we jump on, we will have football in the books, brother. Books.
Let's go. I got my New Mexico spreadsheet out right now. I'm taking notes, looking at the roster for all, breaking it down for our Michigan podcast. So
yes, sir.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited, dude.
Absolutely. He's Grant. I'm Brandon. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll see you next time.